everybody's got trepidation. I see the line short. Go ahead.
Okay. When I heard that Jerry Orbach died, I cried like a baby. And I was just wondering if you could share some moments, special moments that you had with him, because he was.
You're gonna make
like
me
you
cry
said,
right now.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry too. He was the soul of the show, and when he died, I wanted to write his wife and tell her that he was the quintessential thing that says that everybody loves a smart ass.
Well, why don't you write that letter, and when I see her in New York next week, I'll give it to her.
Could I really, please?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But could you share?
Yeah, it's hard to say, a specific kind of crazy story because Jerry was all about golf. And, really, I mean, the first day I showed up to work, he was like, hey kid, he's like, I got a golf game, so I hope you're gonna just get it done quick. And I'm like, oh, all right, but that's one of the great things I learned from Jerry is to like, number one, no matter how special and lucky we are to do what we do, Jerry taught me it's a job. And so I went from being like, oh, nice, to being like, I've got a great job and I love my job and I'm lucky I got a job that I love with all my heart and I didn't kind of wimp out and say, I'm not going to go after my dreams. But my job doesn't make me any better than anybody else's job. And that's what I learned from Jerry, because Jerry was a human being first. And he loved his job, and his job paid him well, better than me. But he was not any better than anybody else because he was famous or he was an actor and he touched people's hearts. He was like just a regular guy. That's why the show was good. Because, I mean, I think, you guys tell me, but here he was, this regular guy. You believed that he was a regular guy. You believed he was a cop. He was just somebody you felt like if you sat down and had coffee with him, he wouldn't be like, I don't have time for this. Next. I'll sign an autograph for you. Next. He wouldn't be like that. He was so warm and so charming. But you know what's interesting about Jerry and I have to say, I've put this in my back pocket, and from everybody I've ever worked with, I've learned something really important, is everybody has their disappointment and their pain, and nobody's life is just perfect. And I suppose that's a good thing to know so you don't feel bad about the things that are going on that aren't working out and taking them too seriously. For instance, just like with Sam, too, he has his sob story about, why he's not Robert Redford, and Jerry's is why is he not Al Pacino, and the grass is always greener, and it looks like somebody else's life worked out tons better. But he'd be the first to say, this was what was meant for me. And he worked his ass off, and he was in the right movies, and he did all the right things, but even a little bit for him, some of his dreams he didn't achieve. So, it's never perfect, and he was just really real in that way.
He was on Law and Order, and everybody loved him.
He was, but he also was in a movie with Al Pacino right before Al Pacino busted out, and wouldn't he have liked to have been Al Pacino? And the same thing like with Sam Waterston, he did The Great Gatsby with Robert Redford, and Sam had just done The Killing Fields, and he could have been Robert Redford if, and so the point I'm making is like, not to get too into philosophy, but like the reason I cried when Jerry died was because I had lost someone who had an amazing philosophy about life, And I think it's good for all of us to remember that it's like totally this moment that makes our lives. Like, this is as good as it gets. Being together and talking, getting to know each other, and there's always something more that you want, and that's okay, So that's what he was like.
Thank you.
Yeah.